Hey everyone, and welcome to another Home Tech. I'm Seth Johnson, and joined as always by Jason Griffin. Jason, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, Seth. What's new with you?
Day and busy. That's what's new.
Good, very good.
Yeah, we're about to launch like a really cool driver for Control 4 at work, and I've just been kind of like cleaning things up for that, and getting the beta program ready to go, and actually juggling some other projects. But the one we're moving into beta with is a Ring doorbell driver, which is pretty cool.
Nice. Very exciting.
Yeah.
Well, really quickly, in case we have new listeners who aren't familiar, remind us where you work.
I work for a distributor out of Arizona, and it's called Blackware Designs. You can go to the blackwaredesigns.com, and that's the website. We should have a lot more on there in the upcoming weeks about it, but that's what I've been working on, man.
Awesome.
It's work.
Getting some drivers out there. That's great. Love it. Well, we've got another exciting show here. Really looking forward to presenting our interview. We had Gene LaNois on, and Gene is the head of the Pro channel over at Nest. And this is an interview, actually, that we've been working on coordinating for quite a while. And the timing was great to get him on and just learn a little bit about the Nest Pro program and what they're doing to really work creatively and effectively with various professional trades like, of course, home technology professionals, but he also talked about their efforts as it pertains to other channels, HVAC contractors, of course, even electricians and whatnot. And so a really interesting conversation, and really enjoyed Gene's input on, the professional channel and what companies like Nest can do to really make that relationship a win-win.
Yeah, it was a very cool interview. I was glad to sit down and talk with somebody from Nest finally. It's been one of those that we just haven't gotten around to, and I'm glad we finally did. Want to give a quick shout out to a new patron that we had, Jason. Darren Tyler came on at the $5 and up level, and get a shout out on the show, Darren. Thank you very much. I think he was in our Slack. I think he's in Australia, so listens to us from way far away. And
love it,
and in a different time zone even.
yeah, right. That's the beauty of podcasting. But yeah, we really appreciate it, Darren. Thank you so much. If you're listening right now and you're not familiar with what that means to become a patron, head over to HomeTech.fm/support, and that's where you can learn a little bit about becoming a member of our Patreon page. And that's a way that you can financially support the show. You can do that for as little as $1 a month. Help us kind of cover our costs for producing and doing a little bit of marketing and all that sort of thing. And we really do appreciate. We've had a number of people sign up for that, and we're always encouraging more people to go check that out. So once again, that URL is HomeTech.fm/support.
Yep. Thanks again, Darren. We really do appreciate it. So Jason, happened to catch that Apple event last week?
I did. Yeah. Let me tee this up a little. We're going to jump into some news stories here. And before we get into our interview with Gene, so if you're tuning in for that interview, be sure you stay tuned. But before we do that, we're going to talk about a few news stories. And big news this week came out of the Apple event. So we're going to talk about a number of things there, really focused around the release of an app that Apple is releasing called, not so creatively, just TV. But it makes sense. It is a kind of a cool concept. And this is really the idea of Apple TV or the TV app, I should say, is to solve that problem of having a dozen different apps that you've got to bounce in and out of to view different content. Really, at its core, the TV app, I would say, is a kind of a fancier version of universal search. So it's the ability to bring content from, dozens of different apps into a single place where you can search it and browse it within one interface. And so I love the concept. I think it does speak to, a trend that we're going to continue to see when it comes to these sort of streaming services, and really interested to see kind of how this develops.
Yeah. Now, there are some big disadvantages to using this app, but we'll get into those in a minute. But let's hit the high-level bullet points of what this app does. It's got features called like Watch Now, Up Next, Recommended, Library, and of course the store that you can go buy new products on. But also it integrates with Siri as well, so you can ask Siri to play live sporting events, and Siri is now aware of those and can go out and actually tune into them, like the news and sports and that kind of thing, by voice control, which I think is pretty cool. The biggest problem I have with this app is that Apple seems to refuse to acknowledge that there are like maybe two people living in the house, sharing an Apple TV. Um, it's like Netflix does which is notably absent from any of this. I guess they
Right.
couldn't get a content deal.
Yeah,
signed with
Netflix
them.
is not participating in it. Yep.
Netflix app does so much of a better job of doing what this app does. When you log into Netflix, it gives you, you can have a sign in for you, a sign in for your wife, a sign in for your kids, which only has, kid shows and that kind of thing. Apple, for whatever reason, thinks that I'm going to go out and buy 3 of the most expensive media players out there, and have 3, one for each person in the house, which doesn't make any sense at all. I don't know. I'm really think they missed the boat with this. Unfortunately, what this app feels like it feels like. Remember when all these rumors were going around that Apple was doing an Apple TV, and they were trying to lock down CBS and all these other content providers.
Right.
It feels like this is like the remnants of that, and they were just like,
we got to do something.
We got to release something. Yeah. We made all these deals. We told all these people we were going to do this, and we don't have Netflix on board. We don't have Amazon's nowhere to be seen on Apple TV because Amazon doesn't want to take the 30% hit that they do for selling movies. I mean, I don't know. I think really Apple has to come down and just start putting out, getting these deals done from a business standpoint, because this Apple TV, it is just so limited because of the business deals that they haven't done yet. It's missing the mark in so many different ways.
Yeah. I think you're right. And that seems to be the general consensus with the stories I've read. This is kind of a half step towards the future, and maybe gives us a glimpse of the sort of model that Apple might be looking at when they're considering how they play into the future of TV. And we've talked about the concept of input zero before, and really wanting to be that first and primary thing that viewers think when they sit down for an evening and want to watch some TV. Where's the first place they go? And clearly this has a long ways to go before it gets there. For the vast majority of people, that's still going to be the satellite or cable box. But clearly we're seeing more and more people cut the cord. And the big problem with that is the one that this app is trying to solve. And we can argue how effectively, but the problem that they're trying to solve is just the confusing mess of various apps that cord cutters invariably end up with. And, you touched on the point that there's always multiple people in the house, right? And there's always going to be that one person who's savvy and is willing to dig in and who gets it and who understands, okay, if I want to watch this, I go to that app. And if I want to watch that, I go to, this other app. And there's always going to be that person in the house who's sort of driving that process. And then there's going to be the partner or spouse who's just going crazy because they can't watch the show that they want like they used to because it's just too confusing.
Right.
And that's really where this is trying to go. It's giving you that one interface, so you can have all of your various apps that you've signed up for, but you're not bouncing around in and out of these apps. You've got a single interface. It's sort of aggregating all that content into. But I agree, feels a little bit half-baked, but I would say a step in the right direction.
Yeah, and you look at this, you take a step back and look. I really would encourage people to go look at the demo and say, and keep an open mind to it. Despite all my criticisms, I'm very bullish on this. This is what the future of TV looks like. It's very clunky. It's missing a lot of pieces to it, but this is what the future of TV will be. And I say future, I say within the next 5 to 10 years, this is what TV will look like. It'll be a lot smoother. I mean, it'll be a lot better to actually use. We just had, Roku, the CEO for Roku came out and say that the Comcast X1 platform and other proprietary platforms that cable companies are coming up with, those are dead because there's no reason to have those around, with things like Roku and Apple TV really hitting the app market. TV will be apps, and content will move into apps. It is
right.
A very natural and, business decision wise, it makes complete sense to do this. And these proprietary cable boxes and systems that they're developing right now, I kind of agree. I don't think that they're they're going to be around very long, because
Right.
these content providers will be moving their content into the apps, and that's where people will go, because it'll just be easier for them to get to what they want.
Yeah. I agree. I think that the piece that you alluded to by it was on Fierce Cable, and it cited thoughts of the Roku. I believe it was the CEO. So obviously, he's with Roku. He's got a dog in the fight, but Roku's been at the forefront of working with Comcast to, kind of bring that content into their ecosystem. And that's essentially the argument he's making is the one you're making as well, is, the proprietary X1 operating system and the set-top box that runs it are antiquated ideas, and they're going to be around for a little while longer, but their days are numbered. And, everything is moving towards apps, and I totally agree. I think that, another one of the things that we have to address before we get there is, is the fact that you have all of these sign-ins that you have to deal with. We talked about, bouncing in and out of different apps to find your content, and there's also the process at the front end of that, which is authenticating all of these apps. And Apple released, their single sign-on solution not long ago that basically is targeted at that problem.
They haven't released it yet. It's something I expected to be demonstrated at this event.
Well, they showed it, right?
Yeah,
I mean, they showed it to developers. It was at the developer conference, I believe.
They're saying now December, so fingers crossed we'll have that December.
Right. Yeah, and there was, a couple stories this week that didn't bode well for that. And it looks like companies like Comcast, which we just talked about, are kind of moving away from that for whatever reason. I don't understand all of the motivations behind that. I do know that Comcast has basically said that they're not going to be available. So the Comcast app will not be part of the Apple's single sign-on program at its release. They did vaguely say that they're keeping an eye on it, whatever the heck that means, who knows. But, I read a story that says Comcast is looking at developing their own proprietary, I guess, single sign-on mechanism. I'm not really even sure, quite honestly, what that means or how that would be implemented. But I think it's interesting. Apple is just trying. A lot of companies are trying to push this idea of TV forward and get things moving into apps. And I do agree with you that that's the future. But I think between a number of stories that I saw this week, it's very clear, if it wasn't already, that we've got a long ways to go.
Yeah. Well, color me shocked that the company still thinks that I need a landline phone, is making insane decisions about what their platform is going to be in the future.
Fair point. All right, well, let's move on here. We got a couple more stories that we want to touch on before we get into our interview with Gene. And the next one that I wanted to hit on here is a forthcoming partnership between SmartThings and Leviton. And this is an interesting story. I think that it makes sense. There's Leviton is out there trying to give a tool to their dealers to be able to kind of dip their toes into home automation. We were talking about it before the show. I think probably the vast majority of those dealers, I would venture to guess, come from the electrical side. And, clearly these guys are looking hard at home technology, and everybody is these days. Traditional security companies are as well. And everybody's kind of trying to figure this out. And so, Samsung and Leviton have partnered up. They're going to have some bundles available where, basically these products will just be designed to work together. It's a Z-Wave marriage here. So we've got, Z-Wave built into the SmartThings hub, and then, of course, Z-Wave lighting from Leviton. So interesting story, and I definitely think is a nice addition to the SmartThings ecosystem.
Yep. And it makes sense. This is something that an electrician can easily provide and hand off to the customer. The customer doesn't necessarily have to use the electrician as their tech support, since they can call Samsung up and the SmartThings people and get them to help them out as much as they possibly can. And at the same time, they'll have the in-wall dimmers and light switches installed by a professional. So I think it's a win-win. Both the products, Leviton and the SmartThings, are on Z-Wave. So it seems like a pretty good marriage, and we'll see how it works. I think it looks pretty good to me. I haven't. We talked about SmartThings in the past, but I haven't really heard very much about them recently. They were having a lot of problems, and we certainly covered all of them.
Yep.
But I wonder what they're up to now. I haven't really heard. If anybody has heard something, let us know.
I think that was my takeaway from reading this story was, SmartThings to me has always looked, at least from the outside, as somebody who doesn't have hands-on experience with it, like a pretty well-rounded platform. They've been around for a while, and they slow and steady, I think, feels like the name of the game with them. And so, I'm sure the problems that we covered in the past were all, serious problems, but nothing that looked like it was threatening the company, right? And so they've worked through some of those technical glitches, surely, and it's good to hear from them again. But like you said, if there's others out there who are kind of immersed in that SmartThings ecosystem and know the latest on what's going on, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, definitely. Well, speaking of dealer installed systems, there's a big shakeup going on at Savant right now. I think you got the scoop on that.
Yeah, well, so it's scoop might be an aggressive term. They sent they sent a letter, an email out to their dealer base, presumably the whole dealer base. I know I got it, and it looks like there's a bit of a shakeup going on with maybe the sales channel primarily. I'll kind of skim through it here. It says, in addition, with the return of our founder and chairman, Bob Madonna, to his role as CEO comes a renewed focus on delivering innovative solutions for you, our pro integrators. In order to better meet that focus, we are combining our separate business unit sales teams into one integrated organization. In the coming days, you may receive a message describing this change to your local sales team with new contact information. And so there was some other things weaved into that about some product announcements and whatnot, but really that was the big takeaway. And I had actually, before I saw that email, had heard some rumors kind of floating around about potential shakeup with, our rep that we've been using here. I don't know. I can't confirm that. I haven't heard anything directly, but I did hear rumors, and then a couple hours later saw this email. And so I've put a bunch of feelers out there, of course. We're trying to figure out what this means to us, in our day-to-day business. But I think the bigger story here is clearly that, Bob Madonna's coming back in and trying to, get things back on course as he sees it. I think that there's been a lot of questions amongst Savant dealers about the DIY remote. We've talked about that quite a bit. I personally didn't feel like it was a huge divergence, but it doesn't seem like, I don't know. I'm just connecting threads. I don't know what all of this means, and we haven't had a candid talk with Savant about any of it. But the return of Bob Madonna, the wording in that email, I mean, it all seems to me to point to the fact that maybe Savant is getting a sharpened focus back towards the professional integrator, which I think is going to make a lot of people happy.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, we'll be curious to see what happens. I mean, this does sound like just a reorganization of the company, and Bob Madonna's coming in to make sure that the sales team's on track. It sounds like, to the outside observer that he's just coming in and putting in the people in the positions that he thinks will be best for the company. And like you said, it could be that we find out more about, the Savant remote and how that has been working in, the retail stores like Best Buy. I'm not sure. I only went down to Best Buy that one time and saw, 3 or 4 of them on the shelf, but, and the guy I talked to at Best Buy had bought one and was really excited about using it. So I don't know how that has been been received in the market. I'm really curious if we learn a little bit more about the Savant remote in the upcoming weeks, months.
Yeah, I do think its days are numbered. I don't want to speculate about how long it's going to take, but I don't think that it's panned out the way that they hoped it did. And I'm kind of reading the tea leaves, and the one sentence in this email that really jumped out at me said, comes a renewed focus on delivering innovative solutions for you, our pro integrators. And I think that to me is the big story. And I'll be very, very interested to watch this over the coming weeks to see what develops.
Right. Well, we'll have to keep an eye on it. If something comes up, let us know.
Absolutely.
Well, we got one more story that Tesla came out with last week on Friday. They unveiled some solar roof tiles. Now, these roof tiles are practically indistinguishable from an ordinary roof. The shingles, they have the shingles colored and shaped like, if you had one of those Mediterranean Tuscan roofs, they have shingles that match that. The shingles are part of kind of their purchasing. Tesla's in the process of buying out Solar City. So this is kind of one of those all-in-one solutions that they're going to be trying to deliver to homeowners in the future. And I think this is killer. I have a guy behind me who has a decent solar array on his house. I mean, this thing's pretty big. We don't live in very big homes, but he has enough that on his house he probably doesn't have an electricity bill at all during the summer. And the panels are large. They don't look all that great. But if I could get something that matches the tile roof that I have, that'd be awesome. I'd go for that in a millisecond.
Yeah, without question. I think this is it's a great idea. It seems very Tesla-like. I mean, they're a unique company. They take a unique approach to product design, and so I thought this was a really a cool story. I'm with you. I think that solar panels are frankly hideous.
Oh, well, don't hold back, Jason.
But I think that let's be real. You put them on your roof and you never see them. It's your neighbors who have to look at them, right? And so it's one of those things. I get it. There's quite a few homes around here that have solar panels. I've given it some thought. I just haven't, made the time to really investigate what's involved with that. I think at some point we'll probably go down that road in some form or another. But I'm with you. I think this is a great idea. I'd love to see this really take hold and have more people get behind it, because I love the idea of solar. I think it's clearly, it's a no-brainer if you can make it work. But to have it in a way that it doesn't really, sacrifice the aesthetic of the neighborhood, I think is clearly a winning proposition. So I'm pulling for this thing. I'm crossing my fingers that this can really take hold.
Yeah. Now there is a trade-off. With every good thing comes a bad thing. The shingles have a disadvantage to the ones that are stand out that you think are hideous. The shingles are, since they're tinted, they have color added to them, and they're made to look like the roof tiles. They're a little bit less efficient than the big ones that you see on my neighbor's house, which I mean could be kind of a good thing, could be a bad thing. I'm not sure. Personally, I think it's a good thing. If more people get past the look of solar electricity and could put this on their homes, I think the more adoption that we have of solar, the better. I really do. Because
I'm with you.
It's definitely something that I mean, we have these roofs on our house. They're protecting us, but they're not really doing very much to help our electrical consumption or anything like that. So I'm all for this. The more the better.
Definitely. Also curious how it stacks up cost wise, versus quote unquote traditional solar panels. So we'll have to dive into this a little bit more and keep an eye on it. Feels like a developing story still, surely a pretty new announcement, but I'm a big fan.
I sent you a picture.
Got my fingers crossed for him.
I sent you a picture. We'll put it in the show notes. I sent you a picture of the house behind me over in the Slack channel there. You can take a look at it.
I'll be sure to take a look. I'm sure I'll love it.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, let's get into our interview here. Again, we had Gene LaNois on, and he is the head of the professional channel over there at Nest. And he joined us to talk about that pro channel, what the company is really doing to embrace their professional partners and make that into a real win-win relationship. And so I really enjoyed our conversation with Gene, and hope you do too. Let's get started. Hey, Gene, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hey, Jason. Thanks. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. We're excited to have you on, and we're looking forward to conversation here about Nest and the professional channel, and this is sort of a big topic here on the Home Tech podcast about products like Nest, which are traditionally kind of consumer products, and how those carry over into a professional install space and what the ramifications are of that. And so we're really looking forward to that conversation. But before we jump into that, why don't you give our listeners just a quick personal introduction and maybe talk about some of your industry background as well?
Yeah, sure. So my background starts off as a heating and cooling contractor. So I was a professional installer way back in the day. But prior to working at Nest, I actually worked for a company that was in the wholesale distribution. And I was actually Nest's very first customer. And went from being a first customer to joining Nest in August of 2013 to run the professional channel business. And really at Nest, what that means is I'm responsible for the business that has everything to do with professional contractors of all sorts. We primarily our biggest trades tend to be HVAC, no surprise with, of course, the thermostat. But we also do a tremendous amount with custom integrators, electricians, security contractors, and there's even some energy type contractors, solar energy installers. So it really spans across a number of trades, both wholesale as well as directly with those professional installers. And then we deal a lot with national home builders, multifamily developers, even land developers. So pretty broad. So I run that business for Nest and deal with everything from the sales force that's out there helping to get face to face with all of the professionals out there to dealing with the engineers on some of the how the product needs to be possibly tweaked to make it work better for a contractor.
Gotcha. Well, sounds like you got a pretty full plate there, and I'm sure that's plenty to keep you busy. Why don't you give us just the quick elevator pitch and talk about what the Nest, this is a big question, and obviously we're going to jump into a lot of the details, but what is really kind of the essence of, or maybe the mission statement of the Nest Pro program? What is it all about?
Yeah, really, this is for us on the Nest Pro program itself is really about enabling professional contractors to take advantage of the brand and technology and enable them to incorporate it into their business and really be a profit center while really creating delightment with homeowners, business owners, building owners. A lot of people, when they look at Nest, they've seen a lot of what a lot of people call a DIY, but Nest actually started in the professional channel first, and our mission is really about enabling our products to be part of that everyday business portfolio, and we've gained a ton of ground with getting our products out there and enabling contractors and professional installers to use it in their business.
Very nice, very nice. So, say I'm a contractor, an HVAC contractor, or even a custom installer. How do I go about becoming a Nest Pro? Is there a website to go to? What's my first step?
Yep. So super simple. It's as easy as just going to nest.com /pro. So nest.com /pro. It's a simple sign up. And we do a basic, call it background. We're creating some level of vetting, making sure that these are legitimate contractors, legitimate businesses. It's there to protect the customer, make sure that we're prioritizing that customer experience and making sure that we're enabling some of those companies to be real companies. We keep it simple, but there's usually about a 24 to 36 hour turnaround. And once you become a Nest Pro, that opens up a window of opportunity from direct communications that we're sending to our Nest Pros, a level of technical support. There's also tech support that's directly set up for the technicians, specific 800 number where they move to a level 2 tech support person rather than dealing with a level 1. Because let's face it, when a professional is looking for some help, they're usually asking something that's maybe a little bit more in depth, and they move right to the front of the line. If there was, you're not having to wait with call it a DIYer that may just have a simple question, because professionals, their time is definitely their money. So we've really put some emphasis on making sure that we set them up with some prioritization to enable them to run their businesses as efficiently as possible.
That's very nice. I've installed a number of Nest thermostats in the past. I probably was a Nest Pro, but I wasn't aware of the phone number to call, because that's really handy. Very cool.
So Seth, thank you for installing the stats, but it was something we heard loud and clear. I knew from my background, knew it was something that we needed to do, and we put a lot of emphasis on our tech support we're one of the few companies that has 24-hour tech support, as an example. So since we sell products in Europe, we roll our tech support between the U.S. and Europe for those different hours of call them odd hours, and so you can always reach somebody. And both call centers are set up and trained on both the European product as well as the American product.
Very nice. That's good to know. Where do you see most of your Nest Pros come from? Is it the HVAC channel or the integration channel?
Yeah, so the integration channel is extremely strong for us. It's a little bit of a smaller industry than the HVAC, and based on the course that we came out with thermostat first, there's a lot of HVAC, and then security and electrical, and as I said, some of the other trades. But the custom integrators, we love dealing with those guys. They love the latest, greatest stuff. So anytime we have something new, it seems like the embracement of that technology comes first from the custom integration side.
Awesome. Well, I love to hear that you've got, a strong background kind of coming from the industry, and I love what you're saying about support. I think that's a really, really important thing when you talk about, the home technology professional and the integrator. Yeah, we're very unlikely to call a support number with a basic question that would require a tier one type of response. So I think that's really important to kind of prioritize that, get people up to the front of the line. I think you're doing the right thing there. I want to ask a question from Nest's perspective as opposed to the integrator's perspective. And, Nest is obviously a very big company and part of an even larger company with Alphabet. How important would you say the Nest Pro program is to the overall Nest company?
Yeah, extremely important. It's it's one of the fastest growing channels at Nest. And to give you some context, there's about 14 million thermostats sold in North America every year. And out of those 14 million, about 9 million of those are professionally installed. So I think that gives you an idea of how important this business, this side, the professional installer side, what that could mean to Nest, because most of that market really exists coming out of that channel.
Right. And I think you're right on point. A lot of people do think about Nest and they think first of potentially a DIY product, but I think that might be a little bit, misleading or just not quite the whole picture, right? Because I think there's a lot of people out there, probably the majority of people, who just simply aren't going to be comfortable installing a thermostat themselves. And so I think having a partnership with, professionals is a really great way to ensure a better overall experience. Do you find that's the case? Do you feel that your end users are getting a better overall experience, not only with the initial setup and the installation, but just over the life of owning that product?
Yeah, we definitely are. And some of it just comes from, I think in when you look at the market, there's two sets of people. There's people that want to do it themselves, and it's nice when there's, call it, one product. But when you start to really come out with a portfolio of products, and today we've got indoor camera, outdoor camera, the smoke and CO alarms, and the thermostat, along with a lot of the other Works with Nest products, that tends to maybe not just be a simple weekend project for someone, and a lot of people tend to want to see that picture of a Nest home or a smart home and kind of say, I want that. And that may take really a professional to install all of those products. Sure, we design our products so they're simple and very fast. If you're a pro, they go in really fast. If you're not a pro, we set it up so that, yeah, you can do it yourself and they are DIY. But when you start to line up all these products and you want to have multiple products, I think that's where the advantage really lies for a professional installer. And we've invested even more by we have separate SKUs that are set up. So the thermostat that is sold to a professional is in a different box. It's got pro messaging, and it even has a different warranty. So, a pro SKU sold and installed by a professional contractor carries a longer warranty than our DIY product, and that's partly just due to the fact that we know that product will get installed correctly. They'll be able to explain how everything works. There's a lot of times a great experience that's aligned with a professional installation and a professional contractor.
Yeah, that's really interesting. You mentioned as part of that answer, you brought up, the broader ecosystem of Nest and the different products that you guys have out there now and the Works with Nest program. What portion would you say? I mean, maybe you don't have an exact number, but would you say the majority of your partners are expanding outside of just deploying the thermostat? Is the thermostat still kind of the heavy, most deployed solution, or are you seeing a lot of adoption by your professional partners of the broader Nest ecosystem?
Yeah, so we see massive adoption, and it's really interesting to be able to look at all these different trades that have different specialties. But it's the interesting part is watching how they really they're all starting to come together a little bit. Watching HVAC contractors start to play in the camera business, watching integrators start to install smoke and CO alarms, as well as thermostats. Thermostats are still, when people think of Nest, it's funny. I'll see somebody on a plane or standing in a line and they'll ask me what I do, and I tell them I work for Nest, and they make this little gesture with their hand, like they're grabbing onto a round thermostat. So yeah, I mean, most people know us for the thermostat. It is one of our strongest selling products, but the market is just really. I'm so bullish on the Internet of Things and the smart home. To be honest, it's one of the things that we call in our business. We call it the new trade, because it's not home automation, and it certainly isn't it's not HVAC, it's not security. It's really what we call kind of the smart connected, and it's new for the most part, and it's pretty exciting.
We've been talking for over 10 minutes now, and in my head, I'm thinking of Nest and I'm thinking of a thermostat, and I keep forgetting you guys have the full product line. You have the not only the thermostat, you have the cameras, you have indoor, outdoor, like you said. You also have the smoke alarms. And I know you said that earlier. It's just every time I hear Nest, that brand is so ingrained with the thermostat. That's got to be kind of an uphill battle to make people realize it's more than just the weird hand gesture there of rotating rotating the thermostat.
Yeah, I mean, for a while we were a thermostat company, and it's really refreshing to be able to talk to different partners across the board, whether that be manufacturers that partner with us, or contractors, or wholesalers, distributors, and really get a chance to position ourselves as a technology company. We also announced that we've been working with Yale, and we have a door lock coming, and that will be another product that works inside the Nest app. It's not a Nest product, but it's an outside product. It's a Works with Nest product that will work inside the Nest app, and that gets really exciting too.
Very cool. Yeah, and this is like the Work with Nest program is what Nest has used to enable other third-party integration with the product itself. What is the official stance? I mean, I guess it's pretty straightforward now with companies like Control4 and Savant, Crestron, that kind of thing. Are you seeing a big uptick from dealers using the Nest product with those types of systems too?
Yeah, I think that's just been nothing but an accelerator for the business. I think it was interesting when we released the APIs as an example for the thermostat. We would have custom integrators come up to us at like a CEDIA show and say, yesterday you were my biggest enemy and today you're my best friend, because I had so many people that I would do a job in their house, and while I was at their house, they would come and they would hand me a Nest thermostat, and they'd say, I want this to work inside my system, whether that's a Crestron or a Control4 or RTI or URC or Savant or any of the other ones that we've created these API integrations with. And for them, they didn't have to try to sell against it anymore. They could incorporate it into their business. They could, buy a Nest thermostat at professional pricing, and incorporate it into the whole system that they were putting in the home. So yeah, it's been nothing but an accelerator. We look forward to more integrations, and where it's also been strong on the installer side, it's really been amazingly strong on the consumer, the end user side. So now you have 1 out of every 5 Nest users is using some type of Works with Nest integration. Just an amazing number, in my opinion, that shows how much adoption there is for the technology, at just call it a non-techie level.
Right. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Hopefully one day soon we'll be able to get some APIs and integrations with those cameras too, because right now it's hard not to sell against them, because they're great products standalone as they are, but the integrators, we like to integrate. It's what we like to do.
Oh, we know, and
Yeah.
hang in there.
I'm sure you've heard this before.
Every day gets a little stronger. Yep, we hear you.
Very cool. So let's talk a little bit about the cameras. The outdoor camera was the last product, I think, if I'm remembering correctly, that Nest announced. We talk about that one a little bit?
Yeah, so the outdoor camera for us, it was our most requested product. We had people, everything from people asking us directly for it to seeing lots of videos. We get a lot of people who send in, some amazing shots that they want to share with us that they captured on their Nest cams. And we were able to see that, gosh, there was just a ton of these that were pointed outside, and it makes a ton of sense. I get it. And so, we worked hard to create a camera that was, again, easy to install, and created a great experience. It has the speaker, it has the microphone, and it has all of the amazing software features so that you can scroll through time just as easy as you do with an indoor cam. But this is also where we were able to take advantage of some just great technology, and being able to identify and give the difference between just general movement or activity that was happening outside, to being able to tell somebody that we think that we've seen a person. Where we create these push notifications, you could be in a business meeting somewhere, and your Nest Cam could give you some information, a notice that it saw some activity. Well, that's okay. That may not be compelling enough to open up that notification. But if you're away and your camera can tell you, we think we've spotted a person, well, that may be enough to really compel you to open that up and take a closer look. So that's another area for us that was really exciting, to be able to provide some amazing operating software with those cameras, while giving everybody what they really wanted. Besides indoor, they really wanted to see outside too.
Yeah, definitely. I own a couple of drop cams that I've had for quite a while, and use the Nest app to view those, and I love it. I think the software is amazing. You mentioned the ability to just really easily kind of scroll back through time and look at motion alerts and that sort of thing. And I think you guys have obviously done a beautiful job with the app. When we look at the outdoor cam in particular, I know that people who work in the professional integration channel were drawn to a particular feature, which is the power cord. And there has been a lot of conversation in the circles that we run in about the decision to maybe to forego a technology such as PoE, for example, where you wouldn't be reliant on having an electrical outlet on the outside of the house. Can you talk about, surely that was considered, and can you talk about the decision to approach power the way that you guys did?
Yeah, so the first camera that we released outdoor, we wanted it to be, again, a scenario where it could be a DIY, and we wanted it to create as close to an original Nest Cam experience as possible. We've seen a great response from it. We also, since we were at the CEDIA show, we had the camera there, and we got a lot of feedback from numerous integrators and installers while at the show. And what I would say is that we totally understand the need for PoE. when it comes to pro install. I think the easiest thing to say is stay tuned, right? Don't count us out when it comes to that technology.
I like that. A little teaser here, so we'll be paying close attention. I do just know that the professional installers are looking for a product that they can really just tuck up high on the house and not have any cords showing, and that's big for the kind of clients that we serve. And
totally.
And so depending on what's involved with making that happen, I do think it would be something that the professional channel would readily adopt without question.
Oh, I could not argue with you whatsoever. I totally get it. And we've seen some creative things from the installers already. They do an amazing job, even given how that power cord is set up. We've seen some pretty creative stuff where these guys really make some things look pretty awesome on the install.
Doesn't surprise me. That's what we do. So. But let's zoom out a little bit. I want to talk about, I know you're actually right in the midst of this, and so I really appreciate you taking the time to join us on the show here. You're out on the Nest Pro Tour, and give our listeners a little bit of an overview about that, when it starts, how many cities and what attendees of the show can expect.
Yeah, we started in October. We're hitting about 30 cities across the United States. And this is myself as well as different members of my team. We'll send out announcements via email to registered Nest Pros. So we give everybody a heads up. Hey, we're coming into this city. Sometimes we'll team up with a specific wholesale distributor in a market, or a lot of times we'll just do it on our own. We'll rent out like a Dave and Buster's or someplace where it's a little bit of a different atmosphere. We can feed everybody. Everybody can have a drink of their choice and sit back and just really what we're going to do is we're going to tell the story about what we're seeing in the market, what we see from the IoT space, why this is such an incredible new trade to jump into. And then we cover product, and there's a lot of interaction in these meetings. It's kind of cool to listen to not only the questions, but what you'll have is rather than the Nest folks answering questions, sometimes you'll have the audience, one installer talking and answering the question for another installer. So we learned some great things on these Pro Tour events as well. So it's everything that you would expect us to do. We keep it light, we keep it entertaining. We try to provide some data and education around what we see. And then we try to, create some compelling information that hopefully will get you to adopt more products and more of this into your everyday business.
Awesome. Well, speaking of more products, again, taking a broader perspective here, Google just recently announced the Google Home voice control platform, and that, voice control is definitely a very hot topic, and I really see voice control personally as a subset of AI, in fact. And yep. I'm curious where you see products like Google Home and voice control and AI in general fitting into the Nest Pro program.
Yeah, so for me, this is really, really exciting. When you think of voice, a lot of people are thinking of like an Amazon Echo, and I think the Google Home product is going to do just an amazing job in the market. If for nothing else, we're going to give the chance for the integrators to incorporate this product into their business. So Google Home is a works with Nest product. It is today coming out of the box having an integration with the Nest thermostat. So it's as simple as a customer saying, okay, Google, adjust the temperature of my home. Okay, Google, make my house 76 degrees. And you can run your thermostat through Google Home. So where we've seen all these different integrations with other voice control, now that can happen with Google Home. Plus, the pros get to supply that product. They don't need to wait for a homeowner to get that or hand it to them when they're in the house. It can be something that they're bringing to the home as part of the job. So it's pretty exciting for us.
Very cool. Well, it's exciting for everyone, I think. It's a really really cool product, and really happy to see it's just about to start shipping. I want to say I had a friend let me know that his card had been charged, so it's going to be delivered any day now, I suppose.
Yeah, I think you have a lot of people waiting in line. They're excited about this one. I think it shows the differentiation of how we're thinking about the pro network, where we're making sure that we're creating avenues for the pros to access the products.
Very cool. Well, that kind of leads us into our next question. What is next for the Nest Pro program? What's on the horizon?
So, we get asked this question a lot. On the program itself, I think what you'll see is just more investment from us. I talked about how we've started to differentiate the product, not only in SKUs, but in feature set. But then we're also creating additional, trying to create more value in the program. So as an example, we've got some loyalty programs where, as a registered Nest Pro, as you install thermostats, when you become a pro, you actually get a Nest identification, a 6-digit identification number. And when you're installing the thermostat, as an example, you get a chance to enter your ID into that product. And it does a few things here. One, it takes all of your professional information and it embeds it in the thermostat. So if the homeowner is ever looking for, hey, gosh, I've got, I want some other stuff, who is my installer? They can access that really easily. The second thing it does is it creates a pipeline of information to us. So we know that product was professionally installed. And now that product goes from a 2-year warranty to a 5-year warranty. So when that is then installed, as you start to register those, now you'll start to also create, as an example, we've got a program now where as you install thermostats, you get and earn smoke and CO alarms. And this is really set up to not only reward our professional installers, but it's also to get them to, if they haven't had a chance to try one in their own home or install one, hopefully this is an encouragement to try that, because there's such a great, all the Nest products operate them by themselves and they're amazing, but they become even more amazing when you have multiple Nest products and they're talking to each other. If there's ever a smoke or a CO alarm, as an example, it tells the thermostat to automatically shut off. Those are all things that we really want the pros to be able to experience themselves. So we've also created a great personal use program so that they can buy products at very low cost. And there's nothing like having a real life ambassador. So we hope that those programs help create that environment and opportunity with the installer.
That's a good program. I can tell you, we love gear, so the more the better.
Who doesn't? Who doesn't? Right?
Absolutely. Well, Gene, I do want to say thank you for taking time out of the busy schedule. I know you're on that road trip right now, and taking your time out to speak with you on the show. If somebody wants to learn a little bit more or get in touch with you, what's the best way they could do that?
Yeah, a few different ways. So if they're hanging out on Twitter, they can just hit @Gene LaNois. So it's GeneLanois. If they speak French, they can say Gene LaNois. If they don't, Gene LaNois is fine. I'm also on LinkedIn, and if nothing else, they can go to pro.nest.com as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Gene. We really appreciate you coming on, and good luck with the rest of the Nest Pro Tour, and we'll talk soon.
Jason, Seth, thank you.